Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us here on SA Today. So we continue to look into the scourge of gender-based violence at institutions of higher learning. You would remember that last week we had a conversation with the Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Bladen Nzimande. We also had some students' movements in studio. This in light, of course, with the recent killings of tertiary students. So now we speak to Dr. Ramneek Ahluwalia. He's the CEO for Health, that's Higher Health, of course it is, and he joins us now live from our studios in Port Elizabeth. Good afternoon to you, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us here on the SABC News Channel.
Good afternoon, Palesa, and such an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed for your time. Let's just first get your reaction really on the recent killings of students and gender-based violence as a whole at our institutions of higher learning.
There's no doubt, Palesa, that we have this epidemic called sexual and gender-based violence. You must remember that higher education institutions, which are universities, TVET colleges, community education training colleges, we are a microcosm of the entire society. We are unfortunately the sector which has an unbound freedom. A 15-year-old joins the TVET college, a 17, 18-year-old joins the university at a very young age. These young girls, when they come from very disadvantaged backgrounds. This is the same sector, unfortunately, we grapple with a lot of peer influence, we grapple with enormous amount of drugs and alcohol abuse. In fact, the latest World Health Organization study has shown that 65% of gender-based violence in South Africa is preceded by substance and alcohol abuse. And our sector, unfortunately, no unbound freedom, children coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, no parental guidance, having seen abuse at a family level, coming from backgrounds which are extremely vulnerable, disadvantaged backgrounds, and suddenly this unbound freedom really exposes them to this devil or this evil or this epidemic called sexual and gender-based violence. So we are experiencing, and we do acknowledge that we have a huge epidemic to fight. As if our own country has to fight, we definitely, being a microcosm, is much more vulnerable. And yes, we do admit that there is this epidemic that we need to engage in higher education institutions.
But I wanted to get an understanding, Doc, as to how prevalent are these incidents of gender-based violence, because I would want to believe that it's not all cases that make it to the media, and some go as far as being unreported.
You're absolutely right. You know, thanks to social media and thanks to media houses like yourself, that has really assisted us bringing in light of this scourge of epidemics. But the reality of the thing is only 1 in 9 women in South Africa report cases. And of course, we have our institutions in rural areas. Our TVETs are informal settlements. We've got campuses in Zwelicha, Khayelitsha. We've got campuses in Soweto. We've got campuses in Alexandra. In deep rural towns like SABC, we have campuses all around the country. And these rural areas do not have enough access to social media. And there are so many young girls who are extremely vulnerable or experiencing sexual and gender-based violence in those campuses. So our aim is, as much as we are fixing our urbanized centers, UCTs and WITS and UJs and roads, we're also trying to build the similar infrastructure in universities like Walter Sisulu, University of Zululand, universities in Wenda. We have TVET colleges in rural areas. So it's a uniformity of rural, informal settlements and urban centers of higher education centers, because this epidemic doesn't center only around the universities that have been in the news. It centers around everywhere across our institutions. And I think it's important for us to bring a uniformity of all our programs, all our structures together in order for us to have a comprehensive program across.
And you've spoken about the abuse of drugs and alcohol as some of the causes of this problem that we have. I had the student movements last week here on the show who were basically saying that this is a societal problem which needs that societal approach. And I was saying to them that tertiary institutions are an organized community. So the question really, as you said yourself, that these institutions are just a microcosm of the entire society. What should a point of departure be for tertiary institutions in order to address the scourge of gender-based violence? Do we have enough programs at these institutions?
Yes, absolutely. Palesa, we have at this moment a policy framework that Higher Health, on behalf of the department, consulted all 26 public universities, right from the management, vice chancellors, to the council, to the senates, to the student leadership, to the unions, to ensure that we have an understanding of this policy framework. And parallelly, we started working with the TVET principals, the TVET councils, the TVET leadership, the TVET management, and the TVET student leadership. And we came up with the framework. The framework then went through the governmental processes and currently was also put up for public comments. Now, what does the policy does is, it pushes each and every institution now to develop an institutional policy. Yes, we can say it's another policy, but it pushes every vice chancellor, it pushes every TVET rector to put investments into a program of sexual and gender-based violence. It puts minimum standards together, that every institutional management has to put things together. Now, we have started developing capacity development. We are running a forum together with all the campus security directors across all our 26 universities and 50 TVET colleges together. We're developing a curriculum where we're going to start training each and every security personnel inside our institution, because they are the first line of approach when a case of sexual violence is either reported or is there. Do they even understand what means a case reporting? How do you file a case? Similarly, we are now putting up capacity development across all our campus health, where the first respondent can be taken to a safe room where post-exposure prophylaxis can be given. The first 24 hours are critical. We have to also administer ARVs. We have to administer contraceptives. We have to do psychosocial assessments. Yeah. We're running a massive peer-to-peer education program, parallelly to how we did for HIV. If we took HIV head-on with 850,000 young peer educators in our sector engaging every day on HIV, we can do similarly for gender-based violence. We've got a peer-to-peer curriculum on sexual and gender-based violence. We're going to now start developing our 5,000 peer educators across every campus. We've got 422 campuses countrywide. We're going to now start engaging sexual and gender-based violence, encourage reporting, encouraging help in the form of risk assessments. We want all our first years, because most of these young girls, most of these perpetrators are coming back from their homes. Some of them have abusers at their home. Some of them have their abusers in the communities. And most of them also have abusers in our colleges, which are in the form of academics or in the form of their peer students. They have to be empowered first. Empowerment can only come via education. So right from the first curriculum, the second curriculum, which is peer-to-peer, and then we go bring psychosocial services on the site. We start developing capacity at our campus clinics, our student campus security, our campus student affairs, our residences, our wardens, how to be GBV sensitized so that they can become the respondents to gender-based violence. We need to make an environment where girls can easily report. We need to have tribunals in our institutions of higher learning that are safer spaces, that are equally represented from every section inside the institution, from student bodies to civil societies to academics, so that we can make informed decisions. But we will not be able to win this if we do not work in partnership with other civil societies around, Department of Justice, NPA, police, because at the end, we are not a legal institution.
All right.
We are institutions that work together.
All right, Dr. Ahluwalia, we've run out of time, but surely we'll have you in studio once you're back here in Johannesburg to also look at the emergency plan as announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa to look into this issue of gender-based violence. Dr. Ramneek Ahluwalia is the CEO for Higher Health, talking to us live from our studios in Port Elizabeth. Peter?